known as Big Ben. It's actually the Great Clock Tower. Big Ben is the name of the bell inside, which chimes the hour. It's 13 tons, there's a slight crack in it. So many of the people in the world can see. It's a very large clock, it's 23 feet in diameter. The minute's hand is 14 feet long, which is about the same size as a double-decker bus. Porcelain clock face gets cleaned about once a year, and we have a team of lamp savers run down the side of it. This is the water loop here, I promise, no, we won't be here very long, just a couple of minutes, and then we continue on down to Bankside, which is our first stop. As you can see, folks, towering above the jetty here is the British Airways London Eye, the largest Ferris wheel in the world. It stands at 465 feet tall, has 32 air-conditioned luxury glass capsules attached to the side. This is the London, Dover and Chatham railway line, but all that remains are these 12 red columns. Unfortunately, the bridge was taken down in 1984, as it became very unsafe and unstable. But the actual railway line, with fear. The bridge was swaying from side to side so badly that people were gripping onto the handrail for dear life. It was closed down for emergency reasons. It took 2.5 years to stabilise the bridge, a further £6 million of cost. But it's now bringing much joy to the faces of Londoners and tourists alike. For its inaugural trip, it went from San Francisco to California, which was the original trip that Francis Drake took to claim it for the Queen first. Now moored here is a museum. Back over to our right-hand side, all the buildings we've seen coming down from London Bridge to here is London Bridge City, and underneath the glass canopy on our right, many designer shops down here, Gucci, Armani, Christian Dior, some very nice restaurants and a very nice bar on the overlooking the river. But back over to our left-hand side, you can see what this country is all about, what people come from all over the world to see. In 1894, designed by Sir Horace Jones, built by John Ward Barry. The two centre spans that we're just going underneath here, each one weighs 1,000 tonnes, but can be raised in just 45 seconds by the marvellous feat of Victorian engineering. The bridge is made completely of steel, which didn't take too long to build, but it was the Cornish granite that is clad. Across, and the centre span started to open unexpectedly, so the bus driver had to jump about an 8-foot gap in between the spans of the bridge. And in 1977, the bridge was painted red, white and blue to celebrate the Queen's 25th Silver Jubilee. Now, if you are going to go into the Tower of London, you're going to see the Crown Jewels. It's an experience you'll never forget. The jewels are very hard to describe, because there's nothing like them in the world. The Queen's state crown, which she wears at the opening of Parliament and also in her coronation, has the marvellous uncut ruby in the top, which was given to the Black Prince for commentary. If you'd like to show any appreciation for my efforts today as your guide, you can do so in the traditional way. When you leave the vessel, I'll be standing by the exit with the captain's red box. If you would like to put anything in there, of course it is greatly appreciated. The Black Watch is situated just near Bermondsey and is a real-life fire station we're just using for the building locations. There's also Chambers Wharf here to our right is a state-of-the-art recording television, one of our production companies. They do internal scenes in there for the build and not, and also London's burning, and once again the screening and international factory. Back over to our left-hand side, you'll see two lovely Georgian houses and a concrete slipway just coming down into the river. Now the Georgian houses used to be the homes for the tally men, the clerk who used to keep the tally of all the ships that used to go into St Catherine's Docks. This is one of the entrances. And the house on the right, in the lovely garden, this now belongs to Sir Michael Crawford, the star of Phantom of the Opera. Also one of our 70s comedy shows some brothers still have. Now alongside Michael's house, I can call him Michael, not the first name shows, is a small pub called the Town of Ramsgate. Now this pub was made notorious by the infamous hanging Judge Jeffreys. Now Judge Jeffreys was one of the most cruel and sadistic judges of all time. If you ever went to his court, he was never found innocent. All of his victims were guilty. And what Judge Jeffreys would do was take them into the pub for a small pint of beer, and then he would either hang them by the neck in the garden of the pub, like it looked like today on a high tide. When the river goes out, beaches become exposed here, and all this area to our left is known as Execution Dock. And Judge Jeffreys would then march his prisoners along to the small beaches that are located here. He would chain them by the hands and feet to the small beach and allow 3 times the River Thames to pass over their bodies before they were finally pronounced well and truly dead. That execution was known as the Grace of Wapping, Wapping being the area to our left-hand side. The last person to suffer execution here by hanging was Captain William Kidd, the pirate. Now, William Kidd wasn't really a pirate, he was a privateer. He had a letter of marque from the King, which allowed him to board any ship and steal their cargo. He was actually a British naval officer before turning to privateering. But one time while out in New York, he made the mistake of boarding a ship which was owned by the British East India Company, very powerful company, and they clapped him in chains, sent him back to London where he was tried, found guilty, and hung by the neck. But unfortunately it didn't go as easy as that. The first time he was hung by the neck, the rope snapped and he fell to the ground. They had to march him back up to the gibbet, put another noose around his neck, but that time he fell. He was later then put into a big cage, chained onto the edge of the river, and he was left there for 5 years while the water just kept passing over his body until he finally became just flesh and bone. Just see a small pub over there to our left-hand side called the Captain. He was a local character of this area. He was a bit like Robin Hood, really. He used to steal from the rich and give to the poor. If you ever found anyone needy, if they needed a hot meal, maybe a room to sleep for the night, he was always willing to give them a few shillings just to help them out. He was one of the very fine characters who lived in this area. Just over to our right, behind the Thames Tunnel Mill, you'll see a church spire. That's St Mary's of Rotherhithe. Again, looking over to our left-hand side, you'll see a small black and white pub with a large tree in the garden, a large weeping willow tree. Now that pub, on your left-hand side, is the oldest tavern on the banks of the River Thames. It's called the Prospect of Whitby. Its foundations were first laid in 1520 during the reign of King Henry VIII. And this pub has stood on this site for over 22 different kings and queens that have reigned in this country. The pub, obviously, a regular haunt for pirates, smugglers, sea thieves, rogues and vagabonds and ne'er-do-wells. It was also here that Whistler and J.M.W. Turner came to paint many of their very famous riverscape scenes. In more recent years, back in the 60s, it was here many of Hollywood stars came while performing in London. Henry Fonda, Steve McQueen and also Paul Newman. For quite a long time until it was taken over by 2 Canadian brothers, John and Paul Reichman, who owned the Olympia and York Construction Company. They poured vast amounts of money into this area, but unfortunately they made the mistake. It's the first time they've ever made a mistake, these 2 brothers. They didn't get the infrastructure done first. Now, any other project they've done all over the world, they've put in the buses, the roads and the tube systems first. But here they didn't do it. And what they did is build this marvellous office. It was horrendous. It took them nearly 10 years for the Jubilee line to be finished before it actually became a success. And now it's the most heavily quoted on the stock market in this present moment. It's going to be built in 3 phases. Phase 1 is complete, phase 2 is under construction, and once finished, phase 3 should be completed by 2010. It's one of the largest building sites in Europe for the last 20 years. There's been more building going on here since the Second World War. Canary Wharf is named after the Canary Islands. Canary Islands, Islas Canaries, where all the tomatoes and bananas used to come here. And the Canary Islands in turn named after the small finch, which obviously used to fly across the islands to migrate. Now at this point in the River Thames, ladies and gentlemen, I do run out of things to say because in recent years to live on the banks of the river, although very, very expensive. Once you come down into this lower part of the Thames, you can get one of these riverside apartments for about 300,000, but you go up to central London, you are looking in excess of £1 million, anything up to 5 million. But as you come down towards Greenwich, just recently advertised over here in this red block here just to our left, 395,000 will get you a 3-bedroom apartment on the banks of the Thames. But I'll tell you a little about some liquid history. In liquid history, the River Thames. Now the river is 215 miles long. It starts from a very small stream that comes out of a mountain in the Cirencester Hills near Gloucestershire, near the Cotswolds. It runs all the way down to the south end of the estuary, which is ahead of us, about 53 miles from here. We come out to the south end of the estuary, and we come out to the North Sea. Now it's a tidal river. Now at the moment, the tide is still flowing in from the sea. This is flood tide. It floods in for 5 hours, and it ebbs for 7. That's 5 to 7 is 12, and 2 tides a day. Now high water today, I haven't looked at the calendar today, but I would estimate high water will be around about 3 o'clock, 2 o'clock, I think it might, 2 o'clock high water, so it's got about another hour and a half to go. It's still got about another metre and a half to come up the side of the river wall, up right to the very top. There's a very, very clean river, one of the cleanest commercial rivers in Europe, and it does support a very wide... But they're wonderful pubs to sit in and overlook the River Thames. Now Greenwich is known all over the world for GMT, Greenwich Mean Time, and that comes from the Royal Observatory, which is situated at the top of Greenwich Park. Now if you look slightly to the right of us and ahead, just on kind of the way I'm pointing here, if you look on top of the skyline, in amongst the trees, you'll see a castle-like building. And that is the Royal Observatory, designed by Sir Christopher Wren on the orders of King Charles II. The Royal Observatory is known as Flamsteed House, named after our first Astronomer Royal, John Flamsteed. Not as well known as our second Astronomer Royal, Sir Edmund Halley, who founded Halley's Comet from the observatory right here at Greenwich. Here it is on the top of Greenwich Hill. Now what I want you to try and look out for, folks, today, at 5 to 1, the top of the Royal Observatory, you'll see a T mark, shaped like a letter T, and on the bottom of it is a red ball. Now at 5 to 1, that ball will rise to the top of the mast, and then at 1 o'clock, exactly Greenwich Mean Time, will drop back down again. Gives you the most accurate time signal in the world. If you get in the right position, walk along the river bank, and then you can see the ball drop at 1 o'clock, and you can set your watches to it. It's also at the observatory that you have the meridian line, which divides the eastern and western hemisphere, giving you 0 degrees longitude. But look right back onto the river wall here. On top there is a small white yacht. That's the Gypsy Moth the Fall. Now that is the small vessel that Francis Chichester circumnavigated the globe in 1967. Quite an arduous journey for the man. He was 65 years of age, which isn't old, but he was suffering from terminal cancer at the time. But what a lot of people come here to see as well is the beautiful three-masted tea-clipper, the Cutty Sark, built in 1869, built by Hercules Lantern. It plied her trade between India and China. Smith, I believe his name was Alfred Smith, he married the young Indian princess when she was actually buried at Prague. He used to love coming down here, old Henry, and he used to do a lot of hunting and jousting in the gardens of his old palace. But these were designed during the reign of King Charles II by Inigo Jones. So Christopher Wren, you can see his influence of the two black domes here, and also Nicholas Hawksmoor. In the background, once again, you have the observatory, and then the small cream-coloured house in the background, the Queen's House, built for Anne of Denmark, wife of James I. That now forms part of the National Maritime Museum. The National Maritime Museum, one of the finest in the world. It's completely free to go in there. All the museums in Greenwich are free, so it's all good value. If you've got lots of people with you, you're going to get your money's worth today. Go inside the National Maritime Museum and try and find Nelson's cloak, the red tunic that he wore during the Battle of Trafalgar. Shot through the shoulder by a sniper's bullet. What? Oh, the dome. There you go, got the dome to your right. You never know what's going on behind you. Always look where you're going, folks, because you never know what's going on behind your back. There's the dome in the background there. The Millennium Dome, which is now closed down, but is shortly to be reopened by an American company who are going to change it into a sports arena and concert hall. But back to the Nelson's cloak there. The bullet went through his body, shattered his spine, took him 3 hours to die in the arms of one of his most famous and favourite captains, his sidekick, Captain Harding. But there you go, folks, we are coming alongside Greenwich Pier very shortly. If I could ask you to remain where you are at the moment, please, until we're safely alongside. We're trying to give you enough time to get yourself in position to see the red ball once you leave the boat. But the captain will let you know when it's safe to disembark. And once again, I do hope you've had a nice trip with us, and I hope you enjoyed the commentary. I hope I haven't bored you too much with all the facts and figures. We do try to make it slightly different than just reading out of a book. We try to embellish the truth slightly just to make it a little bit more interesting. If I have achieved this in any way, and you would like to show your appreciation for my efforts today as your guide, there'll be the old red box by the exit. Of course, you're under no obligation, just if you enjoyed and understood.
George, we'll find something when we get off at the other end. We'll find somewhere for you to go. What boat? That's not a boat.